Hello, Dazzle. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me today. I'm glad that you're here. Today, I'm going to be talking about what makes a human life good or worth living. This topic raises the question of quantity versus quality of life. It also asks that we look at the terms of health and wellness. Whatever the topic of quality of life, health, and wellness arises, there's at least a brushing upon the topic of chronic illness. I want to talk about these ideas while diving head first into the topic of chronic illness and disability. Is it possible to have a good human life and to have disability or chronic illness? The short, immediate, and simple answer is yes. I absolutely believe that it is possible to have a good life while you have chronic illness and disability. But that idea challenges many of the ableist views that our society clings to. I want to really look at those more closely, and I want to give you the long and complicated answer. I want to give you the real answer, which is maybe. It depends, and that's a deeply personal question. So today, let's get deeply personal. The first thing that I want to mention is that as American medical care has improved, more people have become chronically ill and have lived longer. Diseases that once caused people to die are now causing them to have chronic illnesses instead. So this topic is fundamentally a question of quality versus quantity of life. Is it better to live fewer years without having chronic illness, or is it better to live longer with the challenges that chronic illnesses force upon us? When we talk about chronic illnesses and disability, there's an understanding that there is a loss of quality of life. This is the assumption that has been made and is long-standing in our culture. It is difficult to know how much of this is generated from the ableism bias and how much is truly a decrease in quality of life, because it hasn't really been researched. We often talk about the debate of quality versus quality of life as though it were only a personal value set and something of personal choice, but the healthcare system is much more complex than that. Healthcare providers are ethically charged with doing no harm, and generally speaking, saving a person's life is considered the ideal outcome. Yet there's times that this shift to focus is comfort care. This shift is often made when the available treatments are deemed to have no appreciable benefit and are unlikely to improve the person's condition. There is a time when saving the person's life is no longer an appropriate goal. And this brings us to the core of the conversation. What does it mean to have a life worth living, especially when chronic illness or disability is involved? The answer, as I mentioned, isn't simple. It depends on the person, their values, and their perspective on what makes life meaningful. Society tends to place a really high value on independence, physical ability, and productivity, qualities that many with chronic illness or disabilities may find harder to maintain in traditional ways. But this doesn't mean that life becomes less valuable or less enjoyable. It just means that we need to rethink what quality of life truly means. For many people with chronic illness or disabilities, the notion that their life is inherently of lesser quality is not only false, but is also harmful. It ignores the rich, fulfilling experiences that they have despite and sometimes because of their conditions. It's important to understand that people find joy, connection, and purpose in so many ways that aren't tied to our physical health or typical society standards of wellness. This is where the conversation becomes deeply personal. For some, chronic illness brings limitations. Yeah. But also a profound sense of gratitude, resilience, and empathy. It's a shift in how one experiences the world, not necessarily a loss of value in that experience. But for others, the pain and limitations can be completely overwhelming, making it difficult to see beyond their daily struggles. And both perspectives are completely valid, and both contribute to the broader conversation about what makes a life good. The truth is that there isn't a one-size-fits-all answer. A good life can be defined by so many things: relationships, passion, creativity, love, spiritual growth, or even just small moments of finding peace. What might seem like a low quality of life from the outside could in reality be filled with moments of meaning and connection for the person that's living it. And isn't it their perspective that actually matters? Of course, that's not to say that living with chronic illness or disability is easy. It's not. It often requires navigating a healthcare system that can be indifferent or even hostile, dealing with physical and emotional pain, and facing societal stigma. But we must challenge the idea that hardship automatically equates to a life of lesser value. Difficulty and richness can coexist. People with chronic illness and disabilities are living proof of that. We can find joy. Ultimately, the question of whether a life with chronic illness or disability is worth living isn't really about health at all. It's about how we view humanity. Are we only worthy if we are productive, healthy, or able-bodied? Or do we have inherent worth just by existing, by being ourselves in whatever form that it takes? I would argue that it's the latter. So, can you live a good life with chronic illness or disability? Absolutely. But it's a question that each person has to answer for themselves, based on their own experiences, values, and what they find meaningful. There's no universal answer, and that's okay. What matters is that we respect each person's journey, their struggles, and their triumphs, no matter what form that they take. So thanks for sticking with me through this conversation. Remember that life is valuable and worth living just as it is, even if it doesn't look like the traditional picture of health. Be kind to yourselves and others, and keep pushing back against the narratives that try to define your life for you. You've got the power to write your own story. Well, that's about it for my rambling today. Thanks for coming and spending some time with me. If you like the rambling, then click on that like button. It really does help. And until we talk again, you guys be sure to take care of yourselves. Bye!